Okay, hello and welcome. Here's wishing all the ET Now viewers a very happy Diwali. We were all giggling because most of us, at least I can say that for myself, Nikunj, are in the studio after a very long time. And this time, it's not just ET Now's Ayesha, Faridi and Nikunj Dalmia, but we also have ET Now's Swadesh anchors as well joining in on the show. Ajay Sharma, you've seen him on ET Now very often. And I have Priyanka Anand as well from the Swadesh team joining in. Happy Diwali, guys.
Happy Diwali to ET Now and ET Now Swadesh viewers और सारे हमारे viewers को बहुत-बहुत शुभकामनाएं संवत 2078 के लिए.
All right, what a year gone by. While we are accustomed to look at markets as the benchmark for the year gone by, frankly, what really matters is that the year gone by belonged to humanity. It is a year when science triumphed. It's the year when the human spirit really prevailed. At the peak of COVID crisis, there was sheer darkness. There was sheer numbness. But despair always gives way to hope. Hope always gives way to resilience. And resilience always gives way to innovation. And that is what we've seen. The innovation in human society, the adaptability, and the spirit with which we as a society have come back. So that for us really is the big talking point, not the Sensex return, not the wealth creation, not what has happened to benchmark indices. Of course, that is a reflection of how humanity has prevailed. And that for us is a bright way of bringing this new Diwali. Diwali means festival of light, victory of good over evil, and end to darkness. This indeed is that true festival spirit.
Absolutely it is. And in addition to all of that, Nikunj, you can't ignore what the markets have done, can you? It's been like a dhamaka year in all senses of the word.
And dhamaka year, Ayesha, and I still don't think that party khatam hui hai.
I hope so.
Because what are markets, Ayesha? Ultimately a reflection of economy.
Yeah.
And is the economy headed higher? The answer is yes. Will markets move in a straight line like what we've seen in last 1 year? The answer to it is absolutely no. So next couple of years or next couple of months, you should be prepared for a patch of no return, maybe a period of volatile return, and a period of concentrated return.
Yeah, absolutely. और अजय स्वदेश के दर्शक भी I guess हमसे एकदम सहमत होंगे. Am I using the correct words?
Absolutely, Ayesha. Ayesha, मेरे हिसाब से जो नया साल नई शुरुआत ET Now फैमिली, ET Now and ET Now स्वदेश के जो मोटो है नया साल नई शुरुआत, मेरे हिसाब से it coincides very well with the country, the position economy is in right now और जो मार्केट की पोजीशन है. एक नया कैपेक्स साइकिल स्टार्ट हो रहा है. चेतन आया ने बोला कि ये 2003-2008 जैसा समय है. एक नया कॉर्पोरेट एक्सपेंशन का साइकिल स्टार्ट हो रहा है, अर्निंग साइकिल स्टार्ट हो रहा है. और हम सब ने देखा ही है कि किस तरह से फोलियो एडिशन हो रहे हैं. टियर 2, टियर 3 टाउन्स में नए इन्वेस्टर्स जुड़ रहे हैं. सो दिस टाइम it is also the triumph of the retail investor, as Nikunj said. 50% returns between last Diwali and this Diwali on the Nifty. If you are following individual portfolio, the mid cap, the returns are higher. So नया साल नई शुरुआत ET Now और ET Now स्वदेश के व्यूअर्स को ये बात ध्यान रखनी चाहिए कि एक कॉर्पोरेट एक्सपेंशन स्टार्ट हो रहा है, अर्निंग साइकिल स्टार्ट हो रहा है और आप इस देश तो बढ़ रहा है, आप बढ़ रहे हैं कि नहीं देश के साथ. और उसका सबसे सटीक तरीका है इक्विटी मार्केट्स में SIPs, म्यूचुअल फंड्स या अच्छे क्वालिटी के स्टॉक्स लंबे दृष्टि से आप अपने पोर्टफोलियो का पार्ट बनाएं.
बिल्कुल. और यही हमारी कोशिश भी है कि मार्केट के जो एक्सपर्ट्स हैं उनसे आपको सटीक राय मिल पाए, आपको एक ऐसी निवेश की सलाह मिल पाए जहां आप अपना पोर्टफोलियो कंस्ट्रक्ट कर पाएं ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ गुड फंडामेंटल्स. इनफैक्ट जब हम बिग वॉइसेस से बात करते हैं तो वी स्पोक टू मार्केट एक्सपर्ट्स लाइक पंकज मुरारका, गौतम शाह, विकास खिमानी, एंड दे शेयर देयर 3 क्रैकर स्टॉक्स फॉर Samvat 2078. Let's just listen to that.
Well, the first stock I would like to, on which I'm extremely positive, is the India's bellwether bank, State Bank of India. I think all of us know probably the largest bank in India, State Bank of India. Over the last 5-6 years, went through a cycle of corporate NPA, as a result of which their P&L was significantly impacted. But I think now the bank has emerged out of that, and probably we've seen during the COVID crisis, in fact, it emerged as one of the most, as a bank which had one of the most finest asset quality, even better than a lot of private sector banks. I think next year State Bank will revert back to its strong growth credentials, as well as qualitatively on its balance sheet numbers in terms of achieving ROE of 15%, which is what State Bank of India has always done historically. So I think the bank is in for a strong profit growth and book value accretion over the next 5 to 10 years.
Well, firstly, a disclaimer. I think whatever I say, we might have recommended to our subscribers at Goldilocks, so please do take that into account. I think since I like real estate and I believe that this is a theme that will stay for the next 1 year, the stock which I'm picking is Indiabulls Real Estate. I think this is a stock which hasn't done nothing just for a decade. The recent, corporate development, management change, I think is a sort of a game changer, and the charts reflect that. While the stock has already done quite well in the last 3 to 6 months, I think the potential upside from current levels is huge, which I think the market is not understanding so much. And that's probably the reason the stock has underperformed just a little bit in the last couple of months. But if I have to take a 1 year view, I do see a 40 to 50% appreciation on this stock, and it is likely to outperform the real estate index. The charts are good. Weekly charts and monthly charts have shaped up after a very, very long time, and these are trends which will not reverse in a hurry. So we are quite confident, and we feel that to play the real estate theme, Indiabulls Real Estate is one of the better plays.
This is again our portfolio company, so the largest portfolio company. What I like ICICI Bank. Again, you have heard that a banking is expected to do well over the next 12 to 18 months specifically, given the fact that the NPA cycle is kind of behind us. The credit growth is kicking in, which are both very good for banking. And thirdly, I think if you see mildly, increase in the interest rate always helps banks or lending institutions.
Well, it gives me great pleasure now to bring on board Nilesh of Envision. मेरा नीलेश से जो संपर्क है शायद 25 दिवाली पुराना है. जी हाँ, हम
आपकी उम्र क्या है? Is my question.
नीलेश की उम्र क्या वो पूछते हैं. I used to always think that it's impolite to ask a lady her age. But with men, there's no such rules.
Not at all. Till I don't ask you for your wallet or your salary,
I'll ask
it's
Nilesh.
all okay.
On this Diwali, we can ask Nilesh about his net worth and his portfolio return. Right, Nilesh? Let's start with that. Everybody is saying net worth. We have this game called Snakes and Ladders. People who've gone up in terms of billionaire hierarchy. Next year, should we expect your name there?
Well, I mean, it's always good to have these kind of your names in these kind of listings. There's no harm. In fact, it's something which is good. It's honestly a reflection of your efforts, your skills, and of course, how luck really favors you. It's a combination of all of this, and yes, why not?
पे थोड़ा लक होता है, थोड़ी प्रेयर्स होती हैं, थोड़ा इंटेलिजेंस होता है, मगर बात हमेशा निवेश की होती है. तो I'm going to today, Nilesh, start with from this Diwali to next Diwali. Where do you see markets are headed? And where do you think money can be made substantially? And which are the hotspots one should avoid where the risk of losing money is also very high?
Well, these are very interesting questions. I think in terms of the markets, I mean, it's quite possible that the next year the markets could, I broadly expect the earnings growth to be north of 20% at a very aggregate level. You could say some of this is already baked in terms of numbers. So to that extent, I wouldn't be surprised if the markets are higher by another 15 to 20% by the time we kind of get to the next Samvat. So that's where I think the markets could be. And this obviously optimism stems a lot from the expected earnings growth. In terms of hotspots, clearly Nikunj, in fact, just a couple of days back, India increased its targets on renewable capacity and has increased it from 100 gigawatts to about 500 gigawatts. In addition to that, of course, the non-conventional side of it will also be there, the fossil fuel kind of capacity addition. And when so much of power is going to be generated, including from renewable sources, and all the big houses are there in it, you're clearly going to need a lot of transformers and some of the other solutions to kind of transmit and distribute this data. So clearly, over the next 10 years, you're going to see a 5x increase in the kind of planned capacity. And therefore, I clearly believe that a company like, say, ABB Power Products, which is now becoming Hitachi ABB Products, clearly is at the forefront of this opportunity. In addition to that, of course, apart from capabilities on the renewable side, they are going to be involved with electric vehicles and things of that kind. In addition to all of that, data centers. Over the next few years, a huge amount of capacity is going to come up in terms of data centers. And all of these kind of things, be it renewables, be it data centers, they're going to need transformers. And therefore, a business like ABB Power Products could essentially do extremely well. The other big area that I'm extremely positive about is this whole packaged food segment. Over the last year and a half, these kind of businesses have suffered because there's been less outings and all of that. What we are witnessing already, and this momentum will gain further, is revenge outings. And therefore, some of the smaller packaged food companies like, say, Pratap Snacks, DFM Foods, Mrs. Bector, these are very, very interesting kind of businesses which are small today, but have the potential to basically in a way, rebound quite quickly over the next few quarters and do exceptionally well. They're relatively beaten down versus where the prices were earlier. So clearly, I think there you have, one is essentially on the capex side and the other is on the consumer side.
नीलेश, ET Now और ET Now स्वदेश की टीम से इन्विजन कैपिटल की और आपको सबको दिवाली की ढेर सारी शुभकामनाएं. You have spoken about a very interesting point, which is Pratap Snacks, which is, अगर हिंदी में बात करें तो चखने का बात आपने ऑलरेडी कर दिया. And you know, the other day we had the new Diageo India head on our channels, and she was saying कि India में
I think he's invested in Radico. It's point asking.
Interesting. Actually, Nikunj, I was saying that
since Chakna is ready,
so we should.
What follows next?
We are there in these stocks. In fact, I should have made a disclaimer that we are already owning these basket of stocks. That's the disclosure I'm making. And of course, in addition to that, beyond packaged foods, beyond the Chaknas, of course, we are heavily invested into basically the liquor stocks. We own both Radico Khaitan as well as United Spirits, and these have. It's been a good journey so far.
Right.
Clearly believe both these businesses are at the cusp of a transformation. Both have been doing well, but continue to see a very, very long-term growth opportunity. The fact that over the next decade, we're going to see 500 million people come into the eligible age for drinking. And of course, now socially drinking becoming increasingly more accepted. Clearly, you're going to see a huge double-digit growth opportunity for these kind of businesses. So clearly, again, very excited to having invested in them and owned them, and really looking forward to basically an exciting future and a tremendous growth opportunity in this space.
Diageo India had in their con call said that the way HNI population is increasing in India, they are driving sales of premium whiskey. So probably you also expect that trend to continue. उसके अलावा क्या ले रहे हैं आप अपने portfolio में? Capital goods, Chakna and premium liquor. Travel भी होगा, I'm sure. Travel or leisure.
Ajay, Delta Corp. What follows after Chakna and liquor stocks, I guess, is Delta Corp, right, Nilesh?
No, so far we haven't invested in Delta Corp, so that could be an exciting opportunity, but we haven't invested. But from a travel hospitality point of view, of course, Mahindra Holidays is something which we've been owning. Something which we've invested in the recent months essentially is Ease My Trip. Clearly the online travel play, the OTA, which has essentially been a challenger so far, but clearly poised for hyperscaling its business, gaining further market share, and kind of eventually ending up being a champion. That's essentially our investment thesis. I mean, just some broad stats that pre-COVID, India had about 150 million flyers by air, those are the airline tickets sold. And over the next decade or so, I mean, I expect the airline industry to grow at a double-digit growth rate of the economy. And by that logic, India could easily have 750 million people flying annually. And any of these players, any of these OTAs, which kind of ends up with a 10 to 15% market share, doesn't matter whether you're number one or number two, even if you're number three, number four, there's enough. The pie is growing. There's enough for you to essentially go out there and gain market share. So even if you get a 10-15% market share, you could end up actually selling 100 million tickets annually. That's phenomenal versus maybe say selling 10 million in the pre-COVID period. So these are businesses several multiple times over the next 8-10 years versus where they are today.
ऑल राइट बिल्कुल तो नीलेश अपना व्यू बता रहे थे और बता रहे थे कि कौन से सेक्टर्स और स्टॉक्स उन्हें पसंद आते हैं। एक बार क्विकली हम ये भी देख लेते हैं धमाकेदार जो एक स्पेशल सीरीज हमने की है राकेश झुंझुनवाला और श्रद्धा शर्मा के साथ। आइए एक छोटी सी क्लिप आपको दिखाते हैं।
नया गिल्ली नया ला the world is ocean pick up the drop of water by our deeds we set our sample to the next.
How much do you talk to your kids about investing?
A person has passion in what he does, on what he or she wants, and a person does well in what he or she has.
How can I, as a beginner, start off my journey with stocks?
I think you should put in stocks. Because I think stocks will give 15 to 20% return and the rate of tax is not 12%.
Watch me, Shraddha Kapoor, on ET Now this Diwali as I team up with none other than the big bull Rakesh Jhunjhunwala.
All right, a new Samvat here, and when you Rakesh Jhunjhunwala ringing the bell, it just doesn't get bigger than that. So what do we have? The first rates will just start kicking in, and the first rates for the brand new Samvat year. Remember, we've put a great Samvat year behind us, and I really hope that this year we are in for good returns, not wild returns, but good returns. So the first rate of a new Samvat year, ladies and gentlemen, is on your screen. It's a green start. It's a green start for benchmark indices. 100-point up for the Nifty. The breadth of the market today, and the breadth of the market today is exceedingly strong. So the good work of last Samvat year has carried forward to this Samvat year, and it's a special feeling. Even though Murat trading, it's a short window, institutional investors are not going to be there. It's like going to be, a token amount of trade, but families, old brokers, old investors, they normally go to the offices, they do the Lakshmi Puja, their family comes in, they punch in their orders. I've seen all these activities happening on, over the years on the floor of BSC in various dealing rooms. So what do we have? Well, we've got a breadth which is looking strong. State Bank of India yesterday came out with numbers during the market hour. It reacted to the numbers. Let's see where those numbers are. But for the moment, I think it's not a sea of green, but it's a formidable green, which in a sense is making the markets look good. So the new Samvat year has started, and once again, for those who've just tuned in, happy Diwali, and here's wishing that this Samvat year also remains as vibrant as what the Samvat year gone by has been. Ayesha?
Okay. Nilesh, is that going to be a tall order? Could the next Samvat be as lucrative as the year gone by has been, or will we have to hunker down our expectations a little bit? Because I think the last year and a half has, in that sense, spoilt us all.
Yes, Ayesha, I clearly believe that investors will have to tone down expectations. Clearly, the last year has been essentially been a fantastic ride. So clearly believe that in the coming year, expectations will have to be moderated, will have to be toned down. Unlikely that you're going to see a repeat of last Samvat in the coming Samvat, though obviously, of course, I clearly believe that the interesting ride in the markets will continue. It will essentially be a rewarding year, but obviously may not be as rewarding as what the last 1 year has been.
ऑलराइट हमारे साथ हमारे शो पे दो और मार्केट एक्सपर्ट्स, दिग्गज मार्केट एक्सपर्ट्स बने हुए हैं। हमारे साथ कुणाल भी हैं, नरेश भी हैं। वेलकम टू द शो। सबसे पहले वेरी हैप्पी दिवाली टू बोथ ऑफ यू। बिकॉज वी स्टार्टेड अ न्यू संवत, और इस संवत से अगले संवत तक आपको क्या लगता है कि कौन से वो सेक्टर्स या फिर स्टॉक्स हो सकते हैं जो इन्वेस्टर्स को अपने पोर्टफोलियो में जरूर रखने चाहिए? कुणाल।
धन्यवाद प्रियंका जी, हैप्पी दिवाली आपको एंड सारे व्यूअर्स नाउ के लिए। आई थिंक हम जस्ट यही होप करेंगे कि आने वाला साल भी जो पिछले साल जैसा बहुत फ्रूटफुल रहे इन्वेस्टर्स के लिए और मार्केट पार्टिसिपेंट्स के लिए। मेरा अनुमान है कि आई थिंक आने वाले साल में मार्केट ट्रेंड बहुत मैच्योर हो जाएगा। जो हमने लास्ट 1 ईयर में देखा है कि काफी सारे स्टॉक्स, काफी सारे सेक्टर्स में रोटेशन वाइज तेजी आई थी। पहले हमने देखा कि आईटी स्टॉक्स, फार्मा स्टॉक्स में बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग मोमेंटम आया था, और उसके बाद में हाई बीटा स्टॉक्स, हाई बीटा सेक्टर्स, मेटल्स में, ऑटो स्टॉक्स में, काफी सारे सेक्टर्स में फॉलो ऑन मोमेंटम और तेजी दिखाई दी। मेरा अनुमान है कि आने वाले साल में हमें इसी तरह कैलिब्रेटेड मूव्स दिखेंगे। बाय ऑन डिप्स का एक अप्रोच जो हम लगातार हम शोज पे कहते हैं, आई थिंक बहुत बढ़िया स्ट्रेटजी हो सकती है, बिकॉज मार्केट जैसे मैच्योर एज में आता है वैसे ही कंसोलिडेशन और करेक्शन दोनों की अपॉर्चुनिटी प्रोवाइड करता है। तो मेरा अनुमान है कि आने वाला साल भी काफी फ्रूटफुल रहेगा मार्केट पार्टिसिपेंट्स के लिए। सेक्टर वाइज मेरे अनुमान से आई थिंक बैंकिंग स्टॉक्स, ऑटो और रियल एस्टेट, आई थिंक ये तीन सेक्टर्स पे ज्यादा फोकस करना चाहिए, बिकॉज जैसे मार्केट एक मैच्योर फेज में आता है तो काफी सारे जो हाई बीटा स्टॉक्स और जो सेक्टर्स होते हैं इनमें कंसिस्टेंट मूव और कंसिस्टेंट मोमेंटम देखा जाता है। तो बैंकिंग स्टॉक्स में से जैसे हम लगातार बात करते हैं, एसबीआई, आईसीआईसीआई बैंक, आई थिंक काफी सारे बढ़िया सेक्टर्स, बढ़िया स्टॉक्स इन सेक्टर्स में जो मुझे लगता है कि आने वाले साल में बहुत बढ़िया रिटर्न्स दे सकते हैं। मिड कैप्स की बात करें और पीएस बैंकिंग की बात करें तो बैंक ऑफ बड़ौदा, कैनरा बैंक, बैंक ऑफ इंडिया भी बढ़िया स्टॉक्स लग रहा है। आईटी स्टॉक्स में भी अगर हम देखें तो टीसीएस जो काफी बड़ा करेक्शन में जा चुका है ऑलरेडी, 3800 से 3450 के आसपास आ चुका है। मेरे अनुमान से आई थिंक करेक्शन सेटल हो जाने के बाद में स्टॉक वापस से रिकवर हो सकता है। और एक जो बड़ा लार्ज कैप स्टॉक है जो लास्ट 2 या 3 महीने में वापस मोमेंटम में आया था, रिलायंस इंडस्ट्रीज, मेरे अनुमान से आई थिंक वो भी एक बहुत बढ़िया चार्ट बन सकता है और बढ़िया रिटर्न्स दे सकता है आने वाले साल में। तो काफी बुलिश रहूंगा। एक्सपेक्टेशंस काफी स्ट्रांग है कि आने वाला साल भी पिछले साल जैसा बहुत ज्यादा फ्रूटफुल रहे मार्केट पार्टिसिपेंट्स के लिए।
राइट नुरेश, you are somebody who also looks at long term trends. कुछ आपने ट्रेंड स्पॉटिंग की है लास्ट संवत टू दिस संवत के कंपैरिजन में? कोई लेगार्ड्स सेक्टर, कोई ट्रेंड, स्मॉल कैप यूनिवर्स जो नहीं चलाओ, समथिंग यूनिक व्हिच द चार्ट्स आर थ्रोइंग अप?
सो एक मेजर शिफ्ट था जब लास्ट ईयर दिवाली में थे, तब निफ्टी तो ऑल टाइम हाई पर था, बट स्मॉल कैप इंडेक्स 30-40% डाउन था। अब इस बार क्या हुआ है कि दोनों इंडाइसेस ने अच्छे से परफॉर्म कर दिया। तो बहुत सिमिलर है 2015-16 की तरह, कि जब 2014 में तेजी हुई 6000 से 9000 निफ्टी हो गया। उसके बाद एक साल का पीरियड था जब इंडेक्स ने कुछ ज्यादा नहीं किया और स्मॉल कैप्स में सिलेक्टिव मूव्स होते रहे। सो मेरा मानना है कि गोइंग फॉरवर्ड ये जो है ट्रेंड ये चेंज हो रहा है कि गोइंग फॉरवर्ड जो लगाट सेक्टर्स थे, जैसे बैंक्स ने बहुत अंडर परफॉर्म किया है सिंस नवंबर, लास्ट दिवाली टू दिस दिवाली, कंपेयर टू द निफ्टी। एंड स्पेशली बैंक्स में जो छोटे बैंक्स है, छोटे फाइनेंशियल्स है, जो लास्ट प्री कोविड से भी नीचे है और इवन जनवरी फरवरी 2021 से भी 20-30% नीचे है। सो ये जो स्टॉक्स है वहां पे एक स्मॉल कैप फाइनेंशियल्स, स्मॉल कैप बैंकिंग जो मोस्ट हेटेड रहा है इन टर्म्स ऑफ परफॉर्मेंस, मेजर लगाट्स, एक ये सेक्टर है। सिमिलर दूसरा सेक्टर है जो पीएसयूज में है। नाउ पीएसयूज में जो स्टॉक्स चले हैं वो ये थे जिनका जैसे आईआरसीटीसी हो, या जिनके बिजनेस मॉडल्स थोड़े आज के जमाने में बहुत जो हिट चले हैं वो स्टॉक्स चले थे, या एमएसटीसी हो। बट पूरा जैसे डिफेंस सेक्टर है पीएसयू में, फिर शिपिंग सेक्टर है जैसे शिप बिल्डिंग मटेरियल्स में, जैसे जीआरएससी है, मजगांव डॉक है, डिफेंस में भारत डायनामिक्स है, भारत इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स है। सो ये दूसरा सेक्टर हो गया। और तीसरा है टेक्सटाइल्स, जहां पे ऐसा जो हिसाब से लॉन्गर टर्म चार्ट पैटर्न्स और ब्रेकआउट्स हुए, वो ऐसा लग रहा है कि लॉन्ग टर्म ट्रेंड जो है टेक्सटाइल्स का काफी सिमिलर होगा जो केमिकल्स के साथ हुआ है। एक गोइंग फॉरवर्ड चाइना +1 स्टोरी भी यहाँ पे बन जाएगी, नरेटिव भी आ जाएगा वैल्यूएशन चेंज करने को। और ये एक सेक्टर है जिसने फंडामेंटली भी डेट रिडक्शन किया ओवर द लास्ट 3-4 ईयर्स। सो ये 3 सेक्टर्स है कि जहाँ पे परफॉर्मेंस ग्रेट नहीं रहा है ओवर द लास्ट 1 ईयर, बट गोइंग फॉरवर्ड ये अच्छा कर सकते हैं। वैसे ही 2015-16 में यही हुआ था कि मार्केट्स साइडवेज थे, 9000 का निफ्टी 8000 हो गया था, बट टेक्सटाइल्स 50-100% अप थे, इवन पेपर अप थे। तो कोर इकोनॉमी स्टॉक्स अच्छे लग रहे हैं। सो एक व्यू पॉइंट ये है कि अभी तक एक साल में बाजार ने अच्छा किया है, बट इकोनॉमी रिलेटेड स्टॉक्स ने उतना अच्छा नहीं किया। गोइंग फॉरवर्ड ऐसा है कि इकोनॉमी रिलेटेड स्टॉक्स बेटर करेंगे।
जी हाँ, Naresh, I'm coming right back to you, but I'm going to get a closing comment from Nilesh. Nilesh, which is one IPO you would say, I will buy it after the listing also, whether it is Nykia, Paytm or Policy Bazaar, because Nilesh, listing तो सबकी जोरदार होगी. The point is that are there lessons to be learned from DMart कि वो 350 में आया था और 600 में लिस्ट हुआ, उसके बाद 5000 हुआ, or one should now get realistic that बहुत सी अच्छी companies हैं मगर we will buy them in a bad market time.
I believe the latter should be the strategy, which means that these are good companies, these are great companies. Some of them will actually define the decade going ahead, but clearly the valuations are just astronomically high. I don't think they can be compared to DMart, because DMart was, as a business, was highly profitable. They had margins, they had strong cash flows, and they were growing. Versus that, these are companies which are just probably not yet profitable, and versus that, the valuations are really high. So my sense is that, or a more prudent strategy would be that keep your homework ready. These are great businesses, have the homework ready, and when they have a bad quarter, or the market goes through a phase of correction or something like that, or the markets are unkind to these freshly listed IPOs, then that might be a great time to kind of buy into them. Keep in mind, Nikunj, that Zomato, which did very well on listing, but if I were to kind of look at the day on the close, day 1 or day 2 of the listing, it probably closed at around 120. Versus that, it's at about 128, 130. So post-listing, the performance has not really been stellar for some of these digital giants. So my view is that right now, have a wait and watch approach. And if Mr. Market gives an opportunity during the course of the coming Samvat, easily kind of at that point of time, go out there and buy them.
Okay, Nilesh, we'll let you go on that note, and thanks as always for taking the time out and joining in. Once again, wish you a very healthy and prosperous year ahead from all of us.
Thank you. Happy Diwali, Happy New Year to the entire ET Now team and all the viewers and the families.
Thank you so much. Good to have you as always. Well, this Diwali, a celebrity guest, Shraddha Kapoor, chatted with ace investor Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. It's a candid session where they discuss just about everything under the sun, not just stocks, but aspects of life, career, and of course, each other's success mantra as well.
अपने कर्म क्या है उससे डरना है ना. If we behave well in a responsible manner, what is there to be afraid of?
That's so true.
So I fear only three things. God, because there is a Lord Almighty. We must bow over him. I don't know whether his name is Krishna, Shiva, Allah, Christ, Buddha, whatever, Mahavir. Yes. But I must say there is a stronger force in the life, greater than me. Why? So you're not married, you'll learn in time. And third thing is, see, whatever can be done to me is by my deeds.
Right.
So I should be very careful of what I'm doing. Like suppose someone is fighting, I go take a knife, I get killed. I should be aware, no, I could get killed. So whatever the deeds that you do depend on what you are and what can be done to you.
Absolutely. I'm also a big believer of karma and karam. And I really always hope that, you know, that my deeds are what goes around comes around, what you give out there comes back to you, your deeds talk about, you know, will reflect on what happens with you also. I'm sure you must be asked this so many times, you know, about like, where should someone start? How can I, as a beginner, start off my journey? How do I know which stocks that I should?
Shraddha, it's a professional job. Suppose today I tell you, buy ABC share. You buy it, you forget about it, I forget, I tell you, something changes, share goes up, then it goes down. Who is there to monitor it? So you have to blank that, see, whatever wealth you have, suppose you have 100 rupees. You want to buy a house, you want to buy some jewelry, you want to buy some money, you want to interest, you have regular income. And a certain portion you put in stocks. And I think you should put in stocks. Because I think stocks will give 15 to 20% return and the rate of tax is 12%.
Right.
Over a period of 5-7 years.
So I'm a newborn investor and I've invested in this makeup brand called MyGlam. So what would you say, what is your opinion about the boom in the startup world?
See, I'll make it into two parts. See, the most important area of any business is the demand for it. And the amount of makeup, grooming people, ladies are spending now, just goes through the roof as prosperity comes. So I think the opportunity is humongous, unlimited. Now, Nika is well said. There are always players. There is always place for other players. So I think it's a good. See, I cannot tell you anything until I know what size it is, what are the financials, what are the plans. But in general, I would say it's a very good field.
Okay.
Especially in urban, semi-urban, rural areas, ladies are really making. And if you have, give beauty products at reasonable prices,
Right.
there will be a lot of demand.
Okay.
And cost of retailing is low.
Yes.
Retail में तो लैक्मे में लेके जाएगा he'll take 20%, 25% margin.
Okay.
It's a good idea.
It's a good idea.
I endorse it.
Yay! I'm happy to know that.
आप हंसना मत प्लीज, आप हंसना मत प्लीज।
कर्ली होते बाल मेरे क्या करते तुम लोग?
हाँ, वही तो बता रहा हूँ।
माय गॉड, कितना करवाया है इसने मुझसे।
Am I looking young?
और ताली बजवाते केक खाते।
और मैं कैमरा पे नहीं बोलना चाहती, मेरा एडिटर सुन रहा होगा।
And we've got, why am I forgetting his name?
तू दिल्ली आया, तेरे को बिरयानी खिलाएंगे।
रिकॉर्ड हो रहे थे। हाँ ठीक है, उड़े दो। बहुत बड़ा एक्टर है। पंखा चला देगा क्या यार? really hot.
All right, that's Diwali fun and that's studio fun or at home fun for some of us. But
I wonder what was Ruchi saying. She's like, what did she say? Editor को मत बताना, मेरा editor सुन रहा है.
No, I called her up. She didn't return my call.
That you have allowed.
Yes, yes. It's called discipline. Ravi, she joins us now. Ravi, fantastic to have you back. Happy Diwali. Last year we started with an acronym which you'd coined, which is that the importance of how we should use COVID crisis to become a better investor. What is the acronym this year?
Yeah. Good evening, Nikunj. Wish you a very happy Diwali, entire Eat Now team and your viewers. Hope you have a fantastic year ahead.
Ravi, there's a Hindi channel Swadesh also. You're going live on that also.
Yes, yes. You guys are doing a fantastic job, and Hindi channel I'm sure will reach far more viewers as well, because finally we are a Hindi-speaking nation.
So Ravi, when it Hindi channel, the viewer says when Ravi Dharmeshi comes on air, we understand his big picture. Please ask him what to buy and sell. That is the demand of a Hindi viewer.
No. You can ask me, but I will not respond to that by saying buy this or buy that. You know how I function. So no, I think as you pointed out, so COVID turned out to be an opportunity, and now in hindsight it is very, very clear. So how should one look at the markets from this point on is the key question that is bothering everyone. And I don't have an acronym for you, but what I feel is, see, market might move a step ahead of economy, but economy is still in a recovery stage. The expansionary stage hasn't even started. So I don't think things are about to collapse or any such thing. There can be, you have to necessarily, lengthen your horizon, temper your expectations, but you still have to remain positive. We are less than half the glass is full is what I would say. The economic expansion lies ahead of us, and market is sensing that, and it is expecting that to come about in a very near future. And that is why this rally, which is surprising everyone, and we are the second best performing market over a 2-3 year horizon, probably the best. I'm sorry. We have done better than US also in the last couple of years. So I think market is right. We are entering the economic expansionary phase, and new opportunities will be thrown up.
Right.
The portfolio, the pond is going to expand. We should not be pessimistic for sure.
Not at all. We at ET Now and ET Now Swadesh are always optimistic, and it is a triumph of the all optimistic, isn't it? Sunil Singhania will answer that question for us. Sunil, ET Now and ET Now Swadesh की तरफ से Abacus Asset को बहुत सारी दिवाली की शुभकामनाएं, आपको भी. Being optimistic, especially on the small and mid cap end of the market when nobody was ready to look at it, clearly has paid off for Abacus, isn't it, Sunil?
दिवाली की आपको और आपके दर्शकों को भी बहुत ढेर सारी शुभकामनाएं. So I think as far as India is concerned, see, India is a country of entrepreneurship. We have so many listed companies, and we are a country. I jokingly say that we grow because of entrepreneurs and despite the government. And when entrepreneurship is so strong, it necessarily starts from smaller companies. So most of these entrepreneur-driven companies start small, and then they graduate. If you are lucky to catch them young, and they perform the way you expected, I think that is how you end up making alpha. So in that respect, I think we have been lucky that we have stuck to our core. Not to say that money is not made in large cap, but obviously alpha is definitely created in the broader markets, and we continue to believe that even going forward.
राइट साथ ही सुनील आपसे जानना चाहेंगे क्योंकि हिंदी व्यूअर्स चाहता है कि उसे पता चले कि पोर्टफोलियो में कौन से स्टॉक्स होने चाहिए, किन्हें प्लस करें, कौन से सेक्टर्स पर कौन सी थीम्स अब आगे चलेंगी। अगर आप कुछ इस तरफ भी हमें और हमारे व्यूअर्स को बता पाए कि कौन सी थीम्स हैं या आप किस तरह की रिसर्च कर रहे हैं।
नहीं, ऑब्वियसली जैसे मैंने कहा, इंडिया बहुत डाइवर्सिफाइड कंट्री है और इसका एक एडवांटेज होता है कि थीम्स भी काफी सारी हैं। तो आज के तारीख में आई थिंक हमें आईटी सर्विसेज कंटिन्यू हमें अच्छा लगता है। थोड़े शेयर के भाव काफी जोर से बढ़ गए हैं, तो हो सकता है कि एक कंसोलिडेशन फेज हो, बट आईटी सर्विसेज कंटिन्यूज टू बी गुड। डिजिटल इज बहुत ही स्ट्रॉन्ग थीम है। अनफॉर्चुनेटली जो अभी आईपीओ आ रहे हैं सब बहुत महंगे आ रहे हैं, तो थीम बहुत अच्छी है, शेयरों के भाव ठीक नहीं है। बट इस टाइम पे एक जो थीम सीधे सामने आ रही है वो है एक लेंडिंग कंपनीज की। तो वेदर इट इज गुड बैंक्स और इवन गुड एनबीएफसी, आई थिंक इकोनॉमी में एक थोड़ा सा ग्रोथ की तरफ रुझान है। अगले 2-3 साल लग रहा है ग्रोथ 8-9% CAGR बेसिस पे जीडीपी ग्रोथ हो सकती है। एक कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर की तरफ एंटरप्रेन्योर्स भी बढ़ रहे हैं आगे, क्योंकि डिमांड काफी अच्छी है। और उसको देखते हुए रिटेल और कॉर्पोरेट बोथ साइड से क्रेडिट ग्रोथ अच्छी खासी आ सकती है। सब बैंक्स ने अपनी बैलेंस शीट काफी सुधार ली है। आई थिंक एक सेक्टर जो मैं कहना चाहूंगा एकदम नियर टर्म में, बैंक्स और अच्छे जो एनबीएफसीज हैं उसमें आप ध्यान दे सकते हैं।
बहुत सीरियस बातें हो गई। इट्स दिवाली एंड रवि, इस क्वेश्चन पे आई एम गोइंग टू कम टू यू बिकॉज वी वर जस्ट चैटिंग विद नीलेश शाह फ्रॉम एनविजन कैपिटल एंड ही सेड Chakna Churan, liquor stocks, maybe Delta Corp, aviation stocks. He's got it all on his portfolio. Tell us, how are you celebrating this Diwali?
No, I will completely agree with what Sunil sir has just said. I think we are on the verge, on the cusp of economic recovery. Economic cycle is just beginning. So, जो अगर economy बढ़ेगी, तो lending in the economy has to pick up necessarily. And this time around, hopefully the recovery will be led by capital goods as well as real estate cycle as well. So there is a lot of scope. So we are also very bullish on the financial sector, and within financials we are bullish on home finance category as well as the CV cycle. So I think financials is definitely one place where there is a lot of scope for expansion. Second place is in manufacturing capital goods, जहाँ पे the profit pool has shrunk over the last 10 years. जो profits ये company 10 साल पहले peak of the cycle में करती थी, उसका almost 1/3 या 1/4 हो चुका है. So यहाँ से जैसे manufacturing cycle pick up होगी, capacity utilizations बढ़ेंगी और ऑपरेटिंग लेवरेज आएगा, तो काफी हद तक इनके प्रॉफिट्स मुनाफा में तेजी आ सकती है ओवर द नेक्स्ट 2-3 ईयर पीरियड. सो आपको अगर पी मल्टीपल ज्यादा लग रहे हैं तो इट इज बिकॉज प्रॉफिट्स आर डाउन एंड नॉट बिकॉज द वैल्यूएशंस आर क्रेजी ओवर हियर. सो वन शुड लुक एट कंपनीज वेयर देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ हेडरूम फॉर मार्जिन एक्सपेंशन. सो जस्ट one place where we have gone a little bit tactically underweight very recently is specialty chemical. So ये मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में जो China +1 जो शुरू हुआ था और 5-7 साल की तेजी हो गई, वहाँ पे पूरा सेक्टर 20,000 करोड़ से 5.5 लाख करोड़ का वैल्यूएशन हो गया. वहाँ पर हमने फॉर द टाइम बीइंग थोड़ा रिड्यूस किया है एंड मार्जिन प्रेशर वहाँ पर दिख रहा है बिकॉज ऑफ लॉजिस्टिक्स कॉस्ट, बिकॉज ऑफ रॉ मटेरियल कॉस्ट फ्रॉम चाइना. तो उस एरिया में थोड़ा डरना है क्योंकि वहाँ पे काफी प्रॉफिट्स भी एक्सपांड हो चुकी है और वैल्यूएशंस भी एक्सपांड हो चुके हैं. but there are still many areas in the various sectors where the profit pool is yet to expand. We should focus on those.
Okay. Sunil, clearly, it's just one of those phases in the market where it's a problem of plenty. There is a capex recovery which is visible, which markets are celebrating. There is a startup ecosystem which is getting listed. Sunil, markets are excited about it. What should an investor do? Because investors, frankly, have limited capital. And sometimes you're forced to make choices. So where do you think it makes sense to go? Hyper growth, which is startup, or mean reversion, which is in cyclicals and industrials? Sunil.
Every investor should first realize and understand their own risk appetite and capability of this. If I have a limited amount of capital and I'm going to go the startup way, then you are basically looking at a disaster. So what happens typically? Why are the investors attracted towards startups? It's basically you hear only about the successful startups. So on the front page of Economic Times, a company going bust never comes. It's only the company which is doing very well comes in. So out of 1 lakh startup, maybe 99,999 just perish. That one becomes like a unicorn or a multi-unicorn. And I think that attracts investors. You always hear about how someone has put in 5 crores and that's become 500 crores. And obviously, we are human beings, the greed takes over. At the same time, on the listed space, it's a great market, but it's not as glamorously put as maybe the startup in the current environment if you remove the last 1 year. And therefore, there is a natural sort of a magnet towards a PE or a venture or an angel kind of funding. But I would say that an investor who has very limited sums of capital, that investor should dissuade from participating in this very high risk, high return kind of a game, which is the startup. The very large investors, obviously they have risk appetite, they have capital which they can afford to lose. They might take a call based on their risk appetite and their ability to understand. But just don't blindly invest just because there is a startup. I've met so many young guys, very enthusiastic and capable guys, but all they have is a presentation. And on that basis, at least I am not of the mindset of giving hard-earned money. And therefore, as I said, the investor has to understand their own psyche before getting into it.
Yesterday, Ravi, we were at a shoot with Mr. Junjunwala and Shraddha Kapoor, and she asked Mr. Junjunwala what should be the future return. He said 15 to 20% in next 2 to 3 years is a reasonable possibility, not a probability. And my first reaction was, "Arey wah, matlab stock market mein 2-3 saal अच्छे लगते हैं." Can that be the big message, Ravi, for our viewers and investors, that we've put a 50%, 60% kind of a return on an average portfolio, but next 2-3 years, a double-digit CAGR return is not a probability, but it is a possibility. I'll say it again, not a probability, but a possibility.
No, I think you're absolutely right. Not only it is possible, but I would say it is very high probability also. But market obviously goes through its cycle, so it might overextend itself in the short term. ऐसा होगा, and it will test a lot of people's conviction also. जब बाजार 10-15% गिरेगी at some point of time, that is when you will be, your conviction will get tested. कि ये market ऐसे ही liquidity के basis पे बढ़ रहा था या कोई economic fundamental भी है. So I think the biggest risk to any investor is their behavior itself. I mean, market will do what it has to do, but what you do when market zigs and what you do when market zags will determine your returns. 15-20% return over a 2-3 year period, I think, is reasonable. One should expect that because the economic expansion period, as I mentioned earlier, is just beginning. Just a small point I want to add to the startup question that you asked, Sunil sir, is that, see, from a macro point of view, it is a very good thing that is happening for India. Nearly $30 billion is going to come into the startups in India. And it has, the ecosystem is just flourishing. So, and this is essentially a stimulus that is being given to the economy for all practical purposes. All this money is coming and being given to the companies, and these companies are told, go and grab market share. So consumers are benefiting. They are spending on what? People, technology, capacities, products, and when that money is essentially being given to spent, so that money being spent in the economy from a macro point of view is very good. Having said that, what Sunil sir is saying is absolutely correct. You still have to evaluate each and every risk reward at its own merit. I believe that if India's market cap has to go from 3.5 trillion to 6-7 trillion, almost $1 trillion kind of market cap will get added from new age companies and new age business models. So just because the odds are not in your favor also does not mean that you don't look at it. But
Ravi,
it is not for everybody's cup of tea.
Ravi just called Sunil sir. So Ravi, are you saying that you are very young or Sunil is very old? I call him Bhaiya because I know him from 20 years.
I was actually Nikunj going to tell Ravi, that why sir over kya laga rakha?
Yeah, exactly.
So either Ravi thinks he's very young or he thinks you are very old. One of the reason why he's saying you sir.
Who says I am old? Boss, don't even dare, Nikunj.
भैया रवि सर बोल रहा है, मैं तो भैया बोलता हूँ.
It's nothing to do with age. I think he is a stalwart of the industry, and I am still somebody who is young and learning in the industry. It's not to do with age. So, it's my respect for him.
Okay, I'm going to give you a little bit of...
Will you invest in Sunil's fund?
We are competing with each other. We are co-investors also in a lot of places.
Ayesha?
I think the respect is mutual.
Okay, Diwali greetings are done now.
Okay, we're going to give you guys a minute or so to try and digest who's going to call who sir from next segment onwards. We're going to take a very quick break, but come right back. We'll continue our Diwali discussion with Sunil Singhania as well as Ravi Dharmshi.
Presented by Upstocks. Start करके देखो. Banking partner Union Bank of India. Good people to bank with. Exchange partner BSE. Experience the new. For Pinku.
Welcome back. आप देख रहे हैं special Diwali programming on ET Now and ET Now Swadesh. We are joined by Sunil Singhania and Ravi Dharmshi. Sunil, आपसे एक सवाल पूछता हूं मैं. Your fund is doing phenomenally well. We all know that. You made a big call about 2 years back when the market was very narrow. 7-8-10 स्टॉक बाजार को चला रहे थे and you stood out and said कि बॉस मिड कैप देखने का टाइम आ गया है. And we enjoy आपके फॉरवर्ड्स आते रहते हैं जो what are we seeing. तो अभी मेगा ट्रेंड if one were to take a crystal ball next 12 to 14 months का, तो क्या एक दो मेगा ट्रेंड अगर आप हमारे व्यूअर्स के लिए if you could highlight which where perhaps nobody is emphasizing or taking notice of.
नहीं, आपने सही कहा कि अल्टीमेटली जैसे मैंने भी पहले भी कहा था कि इंडिया इज अ कंट्री ऑफ एंटरप्रेन्योर्स, तो वहाँ पे आई थिंक उसको नजरअंदाज नहीं किया जाता है. लकीली फॉर अस वी वर अ लिटिल अर्ली एंड वी बेनिफिटेड एंड आवर इन्वेस्टर्स बेनिफिटेड आउट ऑफ इट. एज फार एज मेगा ट्रेंड इज कंसर्न, ना देखो, डिजिटल इज गोइंग टू कंटिन्यू टू बी अ मेगा ट्रेंड. जैसे अगर आप अपनी रोज की खुद की लाइफ देखें, हम जिस हिसाब से काम कर रहे हैं, पढ़ रहे हैं, एंटरटेन कर रहे हैं खुद को या शॉप कर रहे हैं, पूरा चेंज हो गया है. एंड आई थिंक दैट इज नॉट गोइंग टू रिवर्स. तो आई थिंक वो सेगमेंट में इंटरेस्ट बना रहेगा, लेकिन मैंने जैसे पहले कहा उसमें वैल्यूएशन थोड़ा सा एक हेडविंड बन गया है. एक दूसरी जो ट्रेंड आ रही है वो क्लियर है, जो दुनिया में अभी ये जो ग्लासगो में भी मीटिंग चल रही है कार्बन न्यूट्रलाइजेशन को लेके, आई थिंक ये ट्रेंड एक बहुत ही बड़ी ट्रेंड हो सकती है अगले 10-20 सालों में. हर कंट्री ने वहां जाके प्रॉमिस किया है कि दे विल बिकम नेट जीरो, तो मूव टुवर्ड्स इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स, मूव टुवर्ड्स रिसाइकलिंग, मूव टुवर्ड्स कंज्यूमिंग लेस कार्बन. आई थिंक ये बहुत ही एक बड़ी ट्रेंड हो सकती है. अनफॉर्चुनेटली इसमें बहुत काम करना पड़ेगा. इसमें काफी टेक्निकल लोगों से भी समझना पड़ेगा कि कौन सी कंपनियों को फायदा हो सकता है, कौन सी कंपनियों को नुकसान हो सकता है. बट आई थिंक दिस कैन बी अ वेरी वेरी इमर्जिंग ट्रेंड which can come up along with the digital side of the business.
Okay, Sunil, Ravi, both of you, always great to have you on the show. And Swadesh ki darshakon ki taraf se once again wish you a very happy and prosperous Diwali.
आपको भी दिवाली की शुभकामनाएं.
Thank you so much. Okay, let's hear it out then from Ramdev Agarwal, the chairman at Motilal Oswal Services, as to what he's making of the bull market, which are the pockets that he's liking in the markets right now.
Actually, not only bulls are back, I think many more bulls are coming in. I mean, that's the biggest change this time. It's not the same number of bulls who are going to play in the market. In 2007, there were just about 10 million bulls. In 2012-13, there were 20 million. By 2021, there are 70 million bulls. I'm talking about the Indian bulls. And my sense is that in next 3 years, it will go to anywhere between 150 to 200 million bulls. So you can decide how big is going to be the bull run here. The bull run is not about 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. I think it can last for 3, 4. My sense is this run is going to be a much longer run. If we don't go too high too quickly, then this run has steam for a much longer run. So I think fintech is niche. I mean, typically in unsecured lending and mass lending, 5,000, 10,000, 1 lakh, buy today, pay tomorrow, or buy now, pay later. Basically, it is unsecured. I mean, when you talk about fintech, they're not doing secured stuff. They are doing basically unsecured, because the moment you talk about security, you have to go on the ground and it becomes non-digital. Taking care of the collateral is non-digital process mostly. So that's one small segment. So I don't think the mainstream banking is yet threatened by fintech companies broadly.
All right, after this big market voice, here's a quick round of rapid fire take from our markets veterans as my colleague Ayesha Faridi and managing editor Nikunj Dalmia roll the dice with them. Take a look.
Okay, so it's time to roll the dice, and this time around I'm going to put Nikunj as well in the spotlight, and I'm going to be rolling the dice right here in my hand, and let's see what questions we can ask all our experts. So I'm rolling the dice now, and well, it's actually on number 1. So Madhu, let me start off with you then. Sensex 1 lakh. When and how soon?
It will happen. We don't know when. But I can bet it will happen in my lifetime for sure.
You should say 2 lakh before 2030.
Okay, great. I hope your life is long, but Sensex 1 lakh, happens much sooner. In the meantime, let me roll the dice once again, and we've got the number 6. Wow, from 1 we've got straight 6. Manish, I know you don't like talking stocks, but if you were to look back in retrospect, what's the one stock that you wish you bought?
Oh, I had bought Bajaj Finance and I sold it too early. So I wish I had held on. Which is the real fintech of India.
Yeah, that's the other thing, right? The quantum you buy and how long can you actually hold on to it. Okay, now we have number 3. And Manish, given that, you in that sense gauge the market from macro parameters as well. So I want to ask you this. What is that one thing that's keeping you awake at night? And in the interim, are worries like inflation, taper tantrum, whether the RBI is going to move ahead in a hurry on rates or not, is that a worry at all?
Yeah, so Ayesha, I believe, you make money bottom up, but you lose it top down. That's why I keep a view on top down things. Because this whole wall of money which came to this world post-COVID is a generation of the Western world and the developed world. And frankly, if they hadn't printed, we would not be celebrating this Diwali. However great our stock picking were. So the way this, 50% of the outstanding currency of the US has been created in the last 2 years. And you can just correlate the rise of asset prices with that, because they have to inflate their way out of trouble.
Okay, and on that note, we're going to wind it up on this edition of the Muhurta Trading Day for the ET Now viewers. But come right back, our programming on ET Now Swadesh continues.